Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got an opinion video for you about Black Ops Cold War's launch content. Unfortunately, this game came out with a total of 8 6v6 multiplayer maps, and that count of 8 is being very generous. The overall launch content between multiplayer, campaign, zombies, and lack of Warzone is very small, especially when you compare it to the offerings of Call of Duty games in the past. And this has already gotten frustrating and stale for me since most of this content was in the beta. All but 2 of the multiplayer maps were in the beta, and we didn't even get any new combined arms maps, so there's not really a whole lot of new for me to do except for 1 or 2 weapons, and that's kind of sad because I like seeing new things. I like experimenting. I like showing this map, finding this spot, testing this gun, learning this thing, but there's not a whole lot that I haven't already seen, learned, and tested, so it feels already like well explored, and I know that I'm pretty late to this topic. There are lots of other saltier creators out there that have complained about it endlessly. I have seen the myriad of posts on Reddit. I have seen the endless barrage of clickbait thumbnails and angry faces on YouTube, but I decided not to engage in all of that. I decided I did not want to watch man-children beg for the crucifixion of developers because they didn't get what they wanted in their video game that they didn't like anyway, but they still play 12 hours a day. I don't get quite that anger, but I do share their sentiments on the launch content. The lack of launch content hurts me just as much as the people that I criticize. It doesn't feel any better on my end, but I wanted to try to apply a little reason and logic. I wanted to talk about what went wrong, where we're at now, and maybe how to fix it in the future. So let's dig right in. As of right now, there are a total of 6 unique 6v6 maps in Black Ops Cold War. That is 6 maps that have been designed for 6v6 multiplayer, and that is it in the entire game. Now, we do have 2 extra maps that were added into multiplayer, but they're really just reduced size combined arms maps. They just trimmed off a little section of one of the combined arms maps and put them in. Surprisingly, they play quite well, actually. I think they're some of the better maps. I'm a little bit shocked at how well they worked, and it's nice to have them, but I know it's not really like a unique map since they're supposed to be in combined arms. If you want to count the 2 combined arms maps as being unique somehow, and the 2 Dirty Bomb maps, which are huge, by the way, those definitely took a lot of work, that makes it 12 maps total, and that's a very generous 12 across a lot of modes as well. But it feels like less because you really only have 6 unique multiplayer maps, and for whatever reason people hate Miami. They will just absolutely back out every time Miami comes up, so I basically never get to play Miami. People avoid it like it's Piccadilly, but it's really not. It's a lot better than Piccadilly. Sometimes people do the same thing with Crossroads Strike. I get it, it's a little map, it's a little chaotic, a little clustery, but I oddly kind of like it, but people do still skip out on it, so I feel that my map choices are less than what I want. Feels bad, man.jpg. There were less guns at launch as well, just like a total number of them. Now, this was mitigated by a metric ton of interesting attachments that you unfortunately have to grind out at a super slow pace. Most of the weapons that are available were also unfortunately available in the beta, so the total amount of new stuff is pretty low. And I think that what Treyarch wanted to do with the leveling and grind rates by making them super high was to boost multiplayer retention. I feel like they realized that they had less content than normal, so they thought, well, if we have to make them grind more for it, they'll play longer and we'll have more higher monthly active users perhaps, because that's a big like internal industry pitch thing. It does make sense that if you've got less stuff, they're going to make you grind for it longer, at least to wait out until the next season. When it comes to zombies, we have 1 main multiplayer zombies map, which I think is really well made. I'm very happy with the 1 zombies map we have, but it's a little bit less than usual. In past years, we've been launching with like 2 zombies maps. Now we're kind of down to 1, though we do have a very beefy Dead Ops arcade campaign, which is a little bit underrated in my opinion. And I loved the campaign. I posted the whole campaign on my channel, which is the first time I've done that in actual years. I love the non-linear nature. I love the setting, the theme, the Cold War, the 80s, the synthwave, all that kind of stuff. It was very fun for me. I took my time to explore, and I beat the campaign in 1 sitting over the course of about 5 hours. However, some of my friends that are a little bit more run and gun and less patient than me beat it in as little as 2.5 hours. So if you want to not speed run, but just normal run the campaign, 2 to 3 hours is what you're looking at. Now, I will say that for the campaign, the quality of each mission was definitely there. I loved a lot of stuff about it, had a very high degree of replayability. Matter of fact, I was very happy with it for being a COD campaign because the campaign was never really supposed to be the main draw of the game. So having something I could do for a short experience was great. But at the end of the day, I have to accept that it really isn't normal campaign length, and nothing really is when you compare to the zombies and multiplayer offerings too. So where does that leave us right now in Black Ops Cold War? Well, unfortunately, it leaves us with less launch content than ever before. We have less multiplayer, less zombies, less campaign, and even less guns. As a content creator, this hurts. Not just my bottom line, but my overall interest. I am already coming up with alternative plans to pad out in depth and experiment with new types of content this year because there's not enough to actually review, in my opinion. So I can't say that I'm happy with the initial offerings. But after almost 6 minutes of complaining, there is a silver lining here. There is hope. I know that a lot more content is coming in the future. In the very next week or two, we're going to have Nuketown, which will boost the map count by like, I don't know, 15, 18%, something like that. I can't do 1/6 in my head because I'm lazy. Then, not long after Nuketown Season 1 is going to start, it'll be 2 to 3 weeks from now. It's going to add new maps, new modes like Gunfight. Warzone is going to come to the game, so we'll have our Black Ops Cold War Battle Royale component, which will be a huge, huge boost. I'm really hoping for a new Warzone map, too. I would not be surprised if they added new guns and more maps than announced. To the best of my knowledge, they're planning to crank out content. Hey, there's even the opportunity to just section off parts of the Warzone map and use that for Fireteam Dirty Bomb. That could be super fun. We'll get new zombies maps too. I would love to see more campaign side missions, but I feel like that's a little bit pie in the sky. I know that there are content plans here. I've seen little bits and pieces of them that I can't talk about. One thing I can say is that an important person told me we have planned the most post-launch content ever, and I really believe that. It seems like what Treyarch released this fall was a base template of a game, sort of a really good building block, a foundation of what would become a really big Call of Duty game. And I really hope that they start adding on to that soon because I'm afraid that Black Ops Cold War could go the way of Apex Legends if content ends up being just too delayed. My prediction has always been that Black Ops Cold War will shape up really nicely in January and February, just like Modern Warfare 2019 did. They'll get those balancing patches out there. They'll get an optimization patch or two out there. They'll fall into groove with making and releasing the maps and the content. And about January, it's going to start feeling really, really good. But right now, we're just kind of in the early access phase, unfortunately. We have to wait for it to fully fill out. And that is a harsh criticism to lay on people that I know are going to hear this. But I also have to say it's kind of a miracle that we even got a Black Ops game at all this year. There was a 2-year dev time on this game, and it's rumored to have been taken over from Sledgehammer kind of involuntarily, which derailed whatever else they were developing and made them stop and restart on this one. So we have less dev time than normal. They had to support about 10 different gaming consoles at launch. There's about 2, 3, maybe even 4 different versions of each PS4 and Xbox One, and then a couple of different versions of the new consoles. Then you have to support PC. Maybe they have streaming. Is this game available on Stadia? I don't even use Stadia, so to be honest, I don't know. But you're looking at maybe 10 to 12 different platforms to support, which is the most that any Call of Duty developer or any developer ever has had to deal with. And then you can just sprinkle in a little bit of that COVID-19 chaos that makes everybody work from home. You can't be in the studio, you can't share arts, you can't share assets. Everybody's not got their nice work computers. They've got their like sad little IBM ThinkPad laptops trying to bang this stuff out. And all of that is a recipe for disaster. It kind of reminds me of Call of Duty Ghost being launched into the Xbox One launch as well. Them having to develop on last-gen and next-gen consoles was extremely taxing on their dev time, and it showed in the game with the level of problems they had with it and some of the bugs and things like that. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here with Black Ops Cold War, except it's way more extreme. Not only did they get less dev time, they had more consoles to support, a COVID-19 problem, and it might have been somebody else's work to begin with. So the cards were 100% stacked against Treyarch by any realistic estimation. They should have totally failed and just said that we can't launch this year, but we still got a game with 4 complete modes. I know Warzone's not really out yet, but it's coming. Warzone will be out soon enough. And given that, I say it's impressive to me. It's almost a win in a way that we got a game this year with as much stuff as getting screwed up in 2020. So there's a limited amount that I can complain about that. However, as a consumer, or if I went in as a base consumer, not so in tune to the marketing thing as it's my job, I probably would be let down. I would say that the launch content isn't what I wanted because I would expect Call of Duty of all franchises to be more of the same from year to year. So I would expect kind of the same amount and kind of the same flavor of launch content. This year I didn't get that, so I'd be pretty salty about that. However, I think the smart thing for us to do on this channel is to just button down the hatches, relax, let winter go by, try not to get COVID, play a lot lot of Call of Duty, and we will revisit this topic near the end of the first season or perhaps the beginning of the second season, because I think sometime in January or February the game's going to be a lot busier, a lot beefier, and we are going to see how this best ever content plan turned out. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.